Welcome to Road to Recovery.
Hello and welcome to Road to Recovery, Advocacy and Insights for Trucking Accidents with Sagi Shaked. Sagi is founder of Shaked Law Personal Injury Lawyers and is ranked as one of the top 100 trial lawyers in the United States by the American Trial Lawyers Association. With a wealth of experience in personal injury, wrongful death, and complex litigation cases, he passionately advocates for victims and has recovered multi-million-dollar settlements in damages for his clients. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today we have another special guest. Victor Klein is here to talk about a case that him and Sagi handled together. Victor, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Sagi. Thank you both for having me on. It's an honor. I've watched the show a number of times, and the dialogue and the banter back and forth is absolutely terrific. And as a personal injury attorney myself, I'm writing down notes all the time as well. So your show is very much appreciated, not only by clients, but also by attorneys alike. So thank you guys for having me, and thank you for having this discourse for everyone to listen to.
Nice statement. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Victor, we'll send you a check for that,
endorsement.
All right. Well, Sagi, I'll let you take over my hosting duties, and I'm excited to hear about this case.
Thanks, Kevin. So, Victor, I know you. You're a friend, and what I want to do is first introduce you so the listeners can find out a little bit about you. I know a little history, so I'm going to sort of do a direct exam with you, and we'll go from there. I know you started off as a defense attorney, right?
Yes, I did. I started off as a defense attorney for a very big insurance company, and I was litigating cases for the other side, the dark side, as we call it.
And then you came over to the good side, right?
Came over to the good side. That's right.
Okay. You know, I can give you my take on it. I was a defense lawyer as well. How are you liking the plaintiff's side, meaning the person that's injured, versus representing insurance companies and defendants? How do you like that? Which one do you like better? And why did you make that decision? So first tell us why you made the decision to switch over, and then how do you like representing people as opposed to the man or the insurance company?
I think it's important when you start off in law to have a plan when you're going down the line, to have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, whatever it may be. And in my particular case, I knew I wanted to get into personal injury. And I thought the best place to start was the defense, because I wanted to know how the defense thinks. What are their tactics? What are their strategies? What does the insurance company actually look for? What are the little details that some plaintiff's attorneys might miss out on that the defense pounces on right away, that devalues their case? So those are certain things I was looking at while I was working defense, and it really helped me a lot once I switched over to the plaintiff side, because I knew what mistakes not to make when I was over to that side.
Right. And when you're in trial defending these cases, you can get a different glimpse of how attorneys are handling their cases, and or, you know, how you can put on a case better or how you can destroy a case. At least that's what, you know, I got out of it when I was doing defense work. Did you get kind of the same thing?
I absolutely did. And I think one of the big things is that some defense attorneys, mostly defense adjusters, there's a whole lot of them, I like to say, they drink the Kool-Aid, right? They think every case is jaded. They think every single personal injury action, they think they're all full of it and they're not right. And that's the unfortunate truth, right? So as plaintiff's attorneys and a former defense attorney, I know what an uphill battle it is when you're going up against some of these big name insurance companies. So that's why it's very important for clients to realize that they have a choice in what attorney they have to pick, and not all attorneys are created equally. And some attorneys, they have to know what type of uphill battle it is, and to get around some of these loops and hurdles that the defense throws their way. That being said, once I switched over to the plaintiff side, I knew exactly what to look for and what certain things to avoid that insurance companies pounce on.
And tell us, why is it that you switched over from the defense to do plaintiffs, the people's work? Why did you switch over?
It was always my plan to switch over. So my plan was never to stick to the defense side. My plan was I was a double agent, let's say, right? I wanted to know how the other side thinks. I really did. I wanted to know how the other side thinks, just so when I do start my work, my plan was always to be a plaintiff side attorney. But it's much better to have the inner workings of the defense side to know how they kind of function before jumping ship and going over to the plaintiff side. So it was always my plan, to be honest, Sagi. My plan was always to defend the people. I mean, I think a lot of injured people, they really don't get proper representation. And I've noticed that on the defense side as well. You notice little mistakes that they tend to make. And I could also say when I was on the defense side, I believe I did have a couple of cases with you, and every single case that you had when I was on the defense side, I mean, it was immaculate. It was, the adjusters, the big name insurance companies, and also the defense attorneys, they know when they see Sagi Shaked, when they see the name, they know he's not to be trifled with. So
Flattered by your comment.
I think having an attorney that has done both defense work and plaintiff's work is very advantageous for new clients coming in, because we know how the defense side works. So now whenever I settle cases, I deal with adjusters. I deal with these defense attorneys, some of them who I worked with. So I know exactly what they're dealing with, and I connect with them, right? So we end up building a rapport together because we were on the same side together. So we end up settling. It's much easier. I found it much easier to settle cases with defense attorneys because I was once a defense attorney. And I think that really helped. I don't know if that's your experience, that's been your experience as well, but that really helped me on the plaintiff side because they want to work with you a lot more because they knew you were once on their side. Yeah.
I definitely echo that. I had that same feeling with the firm that I worked at. It was nice to know, and I still litigate against some of the people who are now partners at those firms. So it's nice to have that relationship, and it's nice to really know the inner workings of an insurance company, how cases go to committees before they make decisions, how they make decisions. Those are all important. So I echo exactly what you said. It's very advantageous to a client that comes to your office that you've had that background, and it gives you an edge to, as opposed to someone who hasn't had that background. So when I was doing defense work, we always got different insights and ideas on, and we knew, so at least when I did defense work, because I worked at a big firm, we'd have to write up who is the attorney on the other side, what type of experience do they have, what type of expectation can we settle the case for? Did you have that same type of experience when you were at least reporting to the insurance company?
Absolutely. We had to give the whole rundown. I mean, we knew exactly who the plaintiff's attorney was, the history of the plaintiff's attorney, what cases the plaintiff's attorney tried, didn't try, around what figures the plaintiff's attorney usually settles for. So we have this full rundown. We know exactly what attorneys we're dealing with when I was working on the defense side. So it's crystal clear to everyone.
Yeah, the insurance company, they have it down to a T as to how many trials that person's had, how many settlements they had, how much is each settlement. They kind of track everything. So having that knowledge that you have now gives you a step above when you're representing people like you are now representing the people. So, well, first tell us about your firm, and then what type of cases are you handling?
The firm is called the Klajn Law Firm. I deal with personal injury cases, slip and fall cases, bodily injury cases, auto accident cases, trucking accident cases, catastrophic injuries, and traumatic brain injury cases.
So you're handling basically injury cases like a lot of personal injury lawyers, and you'll take them from the beginning to the end, right, through a trial?
Absolutely. From the intake up until trial, I'll take that case from the very beginning to the very end. Correct.
We had a chance to work on a case together. If you can tell viewers what type of case that was, what kind of injuries did we have, and again, without identifying the parties because of the confidential nature of the settlement. So go ahead, tell us what about the case.
We were representing 3 plaintiffs in this case. They were in a pickup truck and they were rear-ended by a semi-tractor trailer, and it was a real total loss. Sometimes you get total losses where the property damage could be $3,000 and it's just declared a total loss because the car might be worth only $2,000. So they declare a total loss. But this is really what you imagine a total loss to be. It's unimaginable, actually, that someone survived this type of accident. The pickup truck was pretty much crumpled into a ball, to be totally honest. And fortunately, everyone survived. We were representing 3 of those clients. One of the clients ended up with a fusion surgery. The other client had a disectomy. The third client, surprisingly, only received medial branch block injections and I believe an RFA. And he happened to be the oldest client, which was fascinating. But the driver of the vehicle, who had, I think it was well over $300,000 in medical bills, he was by far the most injured in that accident.
Okay. And so at what point did you file the lawsuit in that case?
So in this case, we started, initially the client was hospitalized for 3 to 4 days. After the hospitalization, he ended up going to rehab because the hospital that he went to told him he had to go to a certain type of rehab. He couldn't go to work for 2 to 3 weeks. I believe the hospital said there's no way he could do anything. I believe he was working construction he was working for a lawn mowing company. After that, he went to the orthopedic surgeon. He ended up receiving these first injections, then RFAs, then the surgery. After the surgery, we ended up filing a lawsuit right away. And within the litigation process, we went through depositions, mediations. In the meantime, we had a life care plan set up. I would recommend for anyone, and I know, Sagi, you touched up on this as well. I mean, these life care plans are tremendous. I think they really helped us out on this case, but I'm sure as we'll get to later on talking about this case, one of the severe difficulties that we had to overcome, because this is a case that seemed like an absolute slam dunk. We had everything there, massive impact. We had surgery. We had 3 clients that were severely injured. The property damage, I mean, just tremendous, right? You could imagine going to trial, blowing up this massive picture of this car that was just absolutely crumpled up. We were dealing with a traumatic brain injury. We went to one of the most preeminent neurologists over here, Dr. Sweet, to treat with him. I mean, just the whole gambit on this. And in our opinion, it was a home run case until we got to a certain point where we were looking through the medical records, and Sagi, you managed to find something that was a little out of the ordinary in the medical records, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I remember the case. So at what point did you feel that, to get my firm involved? Because I don't remember exactly I think it was after mediation we got involved on that case. And what was the, I guess, the issue or the hurdle that was getting that case to resolution that we came onto the case? What was the hurdle for you in that case, or the point that it couldn't settle for some reason?
The point it couldn't settle, it could settle, but it couldn't settle for the amount that we wanted to. So they were in 7 figures. We wanted a lot more than that at mediation. I don't remember the exact amount, so I don't want to make up an amount, but it was within the 7 figures. We wanted a lot more than that. Sagi, honestly, one of the best trial attorneys within the United States, in my opinion, the best personal injury attorney, especially for trials. I mean, if you're going to trial on a personal injury case where you're expecting verdicts of 30, 40, 50 million dollars, Sagi Shaked is the guy that you should definitely be seeing for some of those trial verdicts. Now, I'm not undermining my capabilities whatsoever. Trust me, I'm a very confident person, but I'm also very realistic, and you have to give respect where respect's due. And Sagi is one of the top attorneys in the United States when it comes to that. That being said, after mediation, I reached out to Sagi's firm and we brainstormed how to get over the hump and how to actually bring this case from a 7-figure case to possibly an 8-figure case. And once we got to that point, this is when new information came to light. And this new information proved to be extremely detrimental to the case. This new information, Sagi, I heard you talk about it in previous podcasts, and this is the biggest thing for clients to realize. Never lie to your doctors. Don't omit any prior accidents. Don't think you're doing yourself a favor by either lying, withholding the truth. Tell the doctors about every prior accident, every prior medical history, as minor as it may sound. My background, I was Serbian, Croatian. I was born in former Yugoslavia. My father's Israeli, especially in South Florida. There's a lot of people here. It's a very machismo culture, right? A lot of people go into the doctor and they say, I'm hurting a little bit, or it's not a big deal. They don't really express the type of pain that they really have for one reason or another, and it really undermines their case. But for this specific case, the client, let's say he wasn't truthful in his medical history, where he said he never had any prior accidents. The client told us he didn't have any prior accidents. And it ended up coming out, I believe it was after mediation, that he had a gambit of prior accidents. And that would have absolutely destroyed the whole case, because it was on the doorsteps of trial. If they were to make it a trial, I think it would have been relatively easy. It still would have been a fight for the defense, but it would have made it much easier by putting our expert on the stand and examining our expert. And you could easily impeach that expert, in my opinion, by telling the expert that our client lied about prior accidents or prior injuries.
Right. So yeah, credibility, and I think I said this before, whether I'm speaking on the podcast or to other organizations, trial organizations, credibility is key to any case. If your client has credibility, you have a good chance of winning. If your client has no credibility, think about settling that case, because, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, wiggles its little tail like a duck, it's probably a duck. So yeah, credibility is key in any type of case. Fortunately, Victor and I were fortunate enough to get that case settled, and the clients were very happy. So that was definitely a good thing. It was nice working with Victor. He's a super aggressive on his files. He knows what he's doing. If anyone has a case in South Florida and they need a super aggressive lawyer, I would say contact Victor Klein. He knows what he's doing. He's got that experience from being a former defense lawyer, trying cases on behalf of the defense. You're definitely getting a different insight than a lawyer who hasn't had that experience. So, Victor, thanks for coming on the show, for sharing your wisdom, your insight, and a little background about you. We appreciate that and look forward to continuing to work together and seeing you. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Sagi. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you guys both. That was super interesting to listen to you guys. And boy, he's your biggest fan. Sagi, you got a fan there.
It's promoting. I'm promoting Sagi, and I'm like, damn it, I'm also a personal injury lawyer.
In Florida.
Listen, you have to give respect where respect's due.
I totally understand, and I think that's very cool. And you can tell it's authentic. And I think I know Sagi appreciates it, and it's great to hear. Well, thanks for tuning in to Road to Recovery: Advocacy and Insights for Trucking Accidents with Sagi Shaked. For more information or to connect with Sagi, visit shakedlaw.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Great to have both of you guys here. Victor, thanks so much for your time and for being part of the show. And of course, Sagi, thanks for being here too.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Sagi.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.